Nate? Is he around somewhere?
Why, he was around here a while ago, yeah.
Well, we'll wait. There's no rush. That rain was a big help, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it was.
Well, you people, you're all right where you are, but you don't have no trouble down there, but here, it's all the time.
Well, what's causing the trouble?
And they use it for a speedway with motorcycles, and you have to watch all the time.
How was that rain last night?
Huh?
Did that rain help at all?
All right, a little bit. You see the world burning up. You can see that, but look at that ridge out there. It's burning up. But we didn't get too much in here. That gypsy moth, it didn't strike very bad. Because if they come down, the hens picks them up. You know, that's the reason.
Those hens did it, huh?
Yeah, the hens picks them up, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You raising a lot of your own food this year?
Huh?
Are you raising a lot of your own food this year?
Chickens?
Food. Your garden.
Oh, well. I don't know. We got some. We got enough. But not as much as usual. We even planted some yesterday.
What did you plant?
Radishes and lettuce. But here it is, the middle of July. I was pig killed yesterday. Just same there as it is here.
Now, you know, the main thing that this film is about is to get some idea of what the life was like and what the music was like years ago.
Yeah, about the music part. They used to have dances. We had it up here, and they used to get them a violin player, you know, fiddlers they call them them days. Yeah.
What was the music at the square dance? What kind of music did they have at the square dance?
Well, sometimes they used to have a violin player, fiddlers they call them, you know.
Uh-huh.
Then they had, well, I don't know what they did have the last time or two, but of course if they sent to get from Peekskill or somewhere, they want $70 or $80 for. They only had string. They had a piano up there, you know, all the time. So I suppose it's there yet.
You told me about the rocks coming out of the ground every year.
When the frost comes, the frost pushes them up, you know. But and then the earth settles back, and the rocks apparently stays there. Yeah, yeah.
What does that do to the fields?
Huh?
What does that do to your fields?
Well, it makes it more rocky. That's all. Oh, I took out of that flat there, I took there probably 1,000 tons. When I used to be in that business, you know, basin, I have till the last year or so. And I'd be better off back at it again. What I'm doing, I'm going all the time, sometimes as high as 16 hours a day, 18. Trying to clean up the mess, that's what I'm trying to do. Instead of that, it gets worse. The trouble is, with these who had a cattle, say, I can get it off on the taxes. That's what they don't want. That's where it is. And I've got every tax bill ever since 19 and 18. And I paid on this damned old place something like $15,000 in taxes. At least $15,000 in that time. And I got to take care of it, get these cattle in. And I'd like to get some to eat.
I moved here 7 years ago and felt that the past of this county was not buried very deep. There are clues to its history everywhere. These stone walls, which once marked off the pastures, now run off senseless through the woods. And the old car sitting here for 30 years or so, it's just locked in by the trees which have grown up around it. Putnam County is just north of New York City, and its new inhabitants commute. They spend all their time staring at highways and railroads to and from their work. And the old country landscape has become an unreal escape from the unreality of the city. The local people of Putnam County have memories which are almost incomprehensible to the present. For their frame of reference, the land has changed. Through the memory of these older people whose thoughts go back to the early part of the century, you can realize the upheaval and changes which have come about. Such change is nothing special to this age. It's only remarkable that an old culture has survived to the present just 50 miles from Times Square.
Back in the 90s, I'd never heard of such a thing as a fiddle tune, except from the local hand organ that used to come up, and they played an old Irish reel that I always would remember. My lips are chapped and I can't whistle. When I first saw this part of the country, it hit its first depression on account of the economic situation about regard to sale of milk. I first went up in 1960. The country gave the impression of a real blight. I understood that it had formerly been part of the milk shed to New York City, and that the milk shed had simply moved farther north, and that the farmers had given up. By 10 years later, the city people had begun to come up here and buy country places, so it began to build up again. We kept up our interest in our own music, and as far as I was concerned, I didn't know that there was any local life beyond the local lodge and the firehouse and the school and so forth. The old people had very largely moved away, and there was just, in this part of the country, just a small survival. And I didn't know what they did as soon as you got off the high road. I was a city person planted on a rural situation. I walked all over everything here, all over these hills. And we walked way up along there, and you'd see a little cabin up in the woods, and a family would come out on the front porch and just watch you go by with their mouths hanging open. You'd say, good afternoon, or hello, or something like that. They wouldn't say anything. They'd look at you stupidly. They were like the famous Jukes family on the other side of the river. Inbred, moronic. But they disappeared, of course, I suppose. A few years after Pete and I used to walk up there. Oh, that must have been 40 years ago.
It's a funny thing. I was Christian on two sides. My grandfather, not my grandpa, well, I don't know how far back, he come from the Isle of Man. He was an Irish sea captain. He settled up in the lane, you know, up where, well, I guess Conley owns it now. And the other Christian, he settled up in this house down on this side in 1782.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I guess Tompkins Corners would be pretty far away in those days.
Oh, well, they used to go there, you know, with a good horse. You go there in 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. It's only, what, about 2.5 miles, I think, from this corner up here.
That's called Christian Corners.
Yeah, Christian's gone.
Is that the same family as your family?
Well, yes. But in them days, even a boy 14 years old would start out to make his living. I was making my living when I was 14.
God.
And if they done that today, they wouldn't have the trouble they have today. There's some weird customers come up through here. Gee, the one thing I laugh, there's a bunch of hippies over here.
What do you say they call them?
Huh?
What do you say they call them?
Hippies. That's what they are. And they stop here, all of them. I have no fault to find with them. And you know they pulled in down here how many? They was running around here and you can't see one anymore. They just flew away.
Mother's people were born in Putnam County, including my grandfather. And how much further back, I don't know exactly. My wife's people all came from Putnam County originally. I think if you went back, you'd find they were all relation at one time. A lot of strong blood ties there, a lot of strong feelings, the family blood. They kind of stick together no matter what happens.
How long have you had this job that you're doing now?
Oh, I've worked almost 3 years here for Package Paper. I've done a little bit of everything. Been an oil burner serviceman, did a little logging at one time, ran a crane, a bulldozer, backhoe.
All around here?
All around here. I helped get a lot of logs out of Puddin Street over in the Kent Cliff area.
But you don't have too much contact with the new people who are coming up then?
No, I don't have too much contact. I'm pretty tied down to the job, and I don't see that much of them. I know all the old-timers around. Of course, I'm kind of lost if I go into Carmel now. And when I was a kid, I knew everybody on the street by his first name. But now I can stand on a street corner maybe a half a day and not see a person I knew. It's all changed. I don't know all the people anymore.
Herbie Strickland, truck driver, mechanic, and square dance caller, has never given up on the old ways of country living.
People move here, and the first thing they want to do
They want to move to the country to get away from the city, and when they get here,
Make it as
they
much
want to
fun
bring the
as
city right with them.
Right.
We've got to zone everything. We've got to have street lights and town water and town sewer and all the things that they tried to get away from in the city, they want to bring with them. Our taxes go higher and higher and higher, and that's one of the reasons. Boy, when I was a kid, nobody ever heard of street lights or town water or town sewer or even police protection, really. Yeah. But, of course, now we need all these things. So they say we need them. Oh, boy, you can trace my family back in Putnam County longer than I care to think. Some of them were here when Columbus got here, I guess, because there's a lot of Indian blood in the family.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, my grandfather was born on Richardsville Road in a log cabin. He'd be well over 100 years old right now, so. How long they lived there, I don't know, but they trace back to some of the early settlers in the Putnam County area. Back to the Bennetts and the Booths and the Adamses. They were all old families there in Putnam County. A few of the Tompkinses. These old hardcore native people, they're not any different, I guess, than any other place in the United States. They're hard shell people to break till they get to know you. They're very clannish, I guess you'd say. They kind of stick together. And I don't know if they resent the other people. And maybe some of the real old-timers, they do resent them a little bit. I know my grandfather always did. We used to have a lot of what we call house parties. Gather at somebody's house, and all the ladies would bring sandwiches or a cake or something. The local musicians would all come, and they'd pass a hat afterwards. Everybody would chip in $1 or something to pay the musician. We had a lot of square dancing at that time. There was always a square dance or two, and when I got older, I can remember going to 3 and 4 square dances a week around the country. There was a lot of musicians around, old-time musicians. Oh, I must have been 13 or 14 years old, I guess, when I started calling. Then those days, square dancing was just a continuous thing. One set would sit down and another one would get up.
Were these things family affairs, or were
Yeah, they were more family affairs. Used to bring all the children. If they got tired, they just put them to bed on one bed, put them crossways. I've seen babies kind of stacked up like cordwood across the bed. Maybe 7 or 8, 9 babies, and one cried. Why, whoever was there just picked him up and said, we need the bottle or the diaper changed or what the problem was.
That sounds good.
That's what we name. Oh, I should play that one to Tom. Tom likes that favorite one, man. So it's something like Devil's Dream, but it ain't Devil's Dream. I don't know, it's one of them.
The music has a lot to do with us being together like this long, doing things with the family. I don't think, too many kids do this anymore. Well, last year I used to listen, strictly country. if rock was on, I'd listen to it, but I wouldn't turn it on to listen to it, you know. But since I've been to the Fillmore, you know, I've listened to rock music more than I used to. And it bothers me to hear kids in school, you know, they put down country, you know, they just couldn't listen to it. Yeah, you know, like sometimes you'll go to school and unless it's, you know, a bunch of kids that you've known for a long time, you'll sit in a class and not talk to somebody, you know, like sitting right next to a person and not talk to them. That's really weird, you know. I mean, how can you do that? But I can appreciate, you know, going down to the city, you know, and things like that. You know, I couldn't live there. I think the kids down there are striving for what has always, you know, been here. It's been a natural thing. Knowing everybody, you know, helping everybody, you know, this kind of sharing. There are a lot of times, you know, like, particularly like at haying time or something, when everybody will work together because, like, you know, you just have to get the hay in before it gets wet. If it sits in the fields and gets wet, it's no good anymore. And, you know, like down in the village, I think a lot of times, like, if you, like, just walking down the street and you ask somebody for a cigarette or something, you know, like, if they have it, they'll give it to you. You know, it's a kind of a nice feeling. You know, like if you ask somebody for something, you know if they have it, they'll give it to you.
And I guess Putnam is losing that with the new...
Yeah. I think it, to some extent, it's either not caught up or it's a little bit behind.
Well, you take the old-timers up here, the biggest majority of them's all related. You take the Smalleys, the Adamses, the Booths, the Bennetts, they're all related. And that's all your old family. They're either cousins or second cousins of mine, the whole bunch of them. And a lot of these fellas that come out of the city, they don't want to associate with the people around them, you know? I think that's the way they live down there. They don't know who lives above or across the hall or anything. The way I was brought up, each one helps the other. That's the way we all grew up around here. And there was no such a thing as one man had to own all the tools to do everything. Maybe I owned a certain bunch and you owned a certain few tools, and the next guy down the road owned a few, and you went around if you needed an axe. You didn't have one, the other guy did, and you had a scythe and he didn't, and you don't see that anymore. You don't live that way anymore.
If the man's got enough imagination in his head, using this for the horizontal part of it and this for the rise, he can do it out graphically with a square. I mean, you don't need to be a mathematician and have a slide rule if you thoroughly understand this.
Well, a few of us fellas decided to go down to the city to see an automobile show in Madison Square Garden, and we got down there, and the air was all blue, smells bad, made your eyes run. I'd never seen nothing like that before. And the car wouldn't even run in the air. We couldn't even make the car run. We got in the middle of the street, it stalled, it wouldn't run. We got out. We couldn't wait to get back home and get out of that. That was too much for me. I don't like that. A big rush, everybody going too fast, you know, and not for me.
Generally speaking, though, the relationship of the local people to the city people has been good. After a few years' time, why, they calm down and they get just like the natives.
guy who was driving it looked like an escaped convict with long hair. Airflow suspension, leaf seat.
A puffball. But I consider, myself nature to be good, and by good I mean something that balances out and doesn't infringe. Like one human being through his whole course of life kills more plants and life by walking where he walks, and one car through a 10-year life will kill more plants, say, as it drives than that car just sitting there for 100 years, with plants growing up around it and stuff. I mean, it's dead, You put it back in the woods, and maybe one person out of in the year is going to come across it. It's back up off the road. But now, when you've got millions of cars, you just have to watch what you're doing. Otherwise, the natural environment's just going to be totally annihilated.
Car, see, for some people is an eyesore. For little kids, it's a discovery. For us, it was a discovery. It's also a danger, maybe. Like, it's okay to have one, but not to have 5 of them. You got to get 5 towed away because the glass area. It's how you see it.
Yeah, I rode in that car. That was a 27. I met hundreds of miles in that. Well, it was a regular ton truck. That's what it was, a ton truck. That car's got a starter. It had 4 speeds into it. And you could start it with a crank, or you could start it with a starter and everything. And you never got stuck with it. You always could go. When the cars they're making today, the way you hear the people getting killed in them, they must make them out of eggshell or something, the way they crumple up. The way I think, of a good many years, I can think back the way they worked and how they got along. And there's lots of these people today, you couldn't make them believe, the old people, the way they lived, they merely existed. But when you come to figure it out as many years as I have, back and forth, why, I don't see where it's any better today than it was then.
No.
I'm not nearly as good in some respects.
Do you ever remember having any square dances up here?
Any what?
Square dances?
Boy, sure. Right. No, that was practically all it was, a square dance. That I remember at that time. Yeah, about every week. Usually Saturday nights.
Hey, shake.
Sure, they had square dances there. Used to have a platform right out here. Well, they used to come all the way up from when the mines was running, all the way up through there. And they mines, they wasn't doing much then, but they did do a big business before that. There was 4 or 5 mines running in this country. There was Tilly Foster and the German flat mines. They was east of here. And then there was this mine up here, Sunk Mines, and this down in here was a Croft mine. But the mines hasn't been running in, let's see, before even I went to Peekskill. I went to Peekskill in about 1898, I think, when I went to Peekskill. The square dance was the main dance in them days. You know what a square dance is. I don't think it's ever changed,
Do you remember who did the calling?
The best one they ever had in this country, the best one I ever seen, his name was John R. James. And his hair was red as fire. He was the best one of all I ever did see, anywhere. But he would get right up, when they was going right on the floor. He wouldn't miss a chord either. Either the sachet, he'd holler, it was like that. Jesus, John R. James. No, of course, nobody today remembers him.
Yeah, the band. Now for the holy oldest man, right to the last old poor and poor old man in the middle of the road. Yes, for the archers. Now the band. Now for the holy oldest man. Places old Alaman left an element. On the road, right old man, you better get on the old man right to the last home. And you meet with honey and give her in a swing and a promenade, eat a great big wing. Promenade in the promenade. Now keep on going around and around. When you get tired, go sit down. All right, we'll give you a chance to rest. Tom will catch a little rest himself. Wow.
Looks good. Come on. The right hand corner. That's the ball. I know.
Tompkins Corners Fair, where old-timers and young people have gathered for over 40 years, and nothing ever happens.
That's a wall shoe. I'm gonna warm up there. There's one. My name. What are you gonna do? You ready, huh, cuz? Ready. I know your cousin. There's your cousin.
Well, they had a great many socials that they don't have now. Of course, when I came here in '26, nearly every place along here was an operating farm. But gradually, one person, they either died or moved away, and the property was sold, and then it became a development.
Mm.
And that's one thing about this place. I'd hate to see it into a development. So I'm hanging on to it as long as I can. Oh, houses all over the place?
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
How do you feel about your fields here now?
Sick to my stomach.
Well, what's wrong with them?
Well, I didn't want to see Ed's farm grow up the brush. If you don't pasture off or cut hay, why, it's going to grow up to brush and trees. And that's what I say. The reason I let Lester have it to pasture his cattle was so that the place wouldn't grow up to woods.
It seems that many people don't care about that anymore.
No, and I tell you, if you're going to sell it off for houses, they want trees on it.
Hey, what do you think about Putnam County?
It's freaks and hicks, you know, that's it. That's what Putnam County is. It's full of a bunch of hicks. You know, it's full of the ignorant middle class. They've got a philosophy for life, and they believe in it, and they're ignorant to human beings. They're ignorant. I get that word straight, I'll be okay with it. They're ignorant to sensitivity. You know, I mean, the older people in this section of the country, they're just too busy with business and making money, and
You know, is it possible that there's another kind of Hicks, a really earlier one, some real old-time people around here? Have you ever run into them?
old time. You mean farmers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're here. I don't talk to them. You know, I don't know them, and I don't know anything about the farmers except that they, you know, they go about their business and just give you a funny look. That's all. It's freaks and hicks, you know, that's it. And a little bit in between who doesn't know what's going on. Bye, girl. A lot of chicks.
The difference between the Plains Indians and the, you know, more mountainous Indians, religiously, just overall, conceptually, and it's incredible. The one tribe of Indians that, you know, took off from the Rocky Mountain area up above Colorado, it took them, I guess, about 4 generations to make their trek out onto the plains, you know, to make that transition. And they really did it for no survival reason. It was more or less a, psychological survival reason. Their heads just weren't right for living in woodlands, you know. They got too closed in, so. I think that I could live in an environment, valley, you know, get away with it because my concepts, my awareness of space, the universe, the planet as it exists, that I'd never really get closed in, you know. I just know that I could always climb to the top of a tree, and you know, there it is. Excellent.